Hi, I'm Kailani, and today I'll be reading Chapter 5 of our story, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, by DiCamillo. The house on Egypt Street became frantic with activity as the Tulane family prepared their voyage to England. Edward possessed a small trunk, and Adeline packed it for him, filling it with his finest suits and several of his hats and 3 pairs of shoes. Also, he might cut a fine figure in London. Before she placed each outfit in the trunk, she displayed it to him. "Do you like this shirt with the suit?" she asked him. "Or would you like to wear your black derby? You look very handsome in it. Shall we pack it?" And then finally, on a bright Saturday morning in May, Edward and Adeline and Mr. and Mrs. Tulane were all aboard the ship, standing at the railing. Pellegrina was at the dock. On her head, she wore a floppy hat strung around with flowers. She stared straight at Edward. Her dark eyes glowed. "Goodbye," Adeline shouted to her grandmother. "I love you." The ship pulled away from the dock. Pellegrina waved to Adeline. "Goodbye, lady," she called. "Goodbye." Edward felt something damp in his ears. Adeline's tears, he supposed. He wished that she would not hold them so tight. To be clutched so fiercely often resulted in wrinkled clothing. Finally, all the people on land, including Pellegrina, disappeared. Edward, for one, was relieved to see the last of her. As was to be expected, Edward Tulane exacted much attention on board the ship. "What a singular rabbit," said an elderly lady with 3 strings of pearls wrapped around her neck. She bent down to look more closely at Edward. "Thank you," said Adeline. Several little girls on board gave Edward deep glances full of longing. They asked Adeline if they might hold him. "No," said Adeline. "I'm afraid he's not the kind of rabbit who likes to be held by strangers." 2 young boys, brothers named Martin and Amos, took a particular interest in Edward. "What does he do?" Martin asked Adeline. "On their second day at sea." He pointed at Edward, who was sitting on a deck chair, with his long legs stretched in front of him. "He doesn't do anything," said Adeline. "Does he wind up somewhere?" asked Amos. "No," said Adeline. "He does not wind up." "What's the point of him, then?" said Martin. "The point is that he is Edward," said Adeline. "That's not much of a point," said Amos. "It's not," agreed Martin. And then, after a long, thoughtful pause, he said, "I wouldn't let anyone dress me like that." "Me neither," said Amos. "Do his clothes come off?" asked Martin. "Of course they do," said Adeline. "He has many different outfits, and he has his own pajamas, too. They are made of silk." Edward, as usual, was disregarding the conversation. A breeze was blowing in off the sea, and the silk scarf wrapped around his neck billowed out behind him. On his head he wore a straw bowler. The rabbit was thinking that he must look quite dashing. It came as a total surprise to him when he was grabbed off the deck chair, and first his scarf and then his jacket and pants were ripped off from his body. He heard his pocket watch hit the deck of the ship, and then held merrily toward Adeline's feet. "Look at him," said Martin. "He's even got underwear." He held out Edward aloft so that Amos could see. "Take it off, Amos," shouted Amos. "No!" screamed Adeline. Martin removed Ed's underwear. Edward was paying attention now. He was mortified. He was completely naked except for the hat on his head, and the other passengers on board the ship were looking at him, directing curious and embarrassed glances in his way. "Give him to me!" screamed Adeline. "He's mine!" "No," said Amos to Martin. "Give him to me." He clapped his hands together and held them open. "Toss him," he said. "Please," cried Adeline, "don't throw him. He's made of china. He'll break." Martin threw Edward, and Edward sailed naked through the air. Only a moment ago, the rabbit had thought that being naked in front of a shipload of strangers was the worst thing that could happen to him. But he was wrong. It was much worse being tossed, in the same time naked state, from the hands of one grubby, laughing boy to another. Amos caught Edward and held him up, displaying him triumphantly. "Throw him back!" called Martin. Amos raised his arm, but as soon as he was getting ready to throw Edward, Adeline tackled him, shoving her head into his stomach and upsetting the boy's aim, so that Edward did not go flying back to the dirty hands of Martin. Instead, Edward Tulane went overboard.